I'm so excited to be prepping some knits for Rhinebeck. Hello, my name is Emily Crow from Crochet Creations and welcome to my YouTube channel where I love to talk about all things yarny. Today is podcast episode 36 and today I'll be talking about all the things I've been working on, recent objects I finished, as well as things in the works and some new fun Yarnie goodies, as well as of course at the end talking a little bit about updates on my life and what books I've been reading. So grab something to drink. I've got my tea. And let's get right into it. All right, so what I am wearing today on this cozy October morning, actually it's 12:30, so this cozy October afternoon, it is like 55 degrees outside. It is cold. It rained yesterday. I am ready to be cozy. I am wearing my Today I am wearing my No Frills by Petite Knit. I knit this a little bit ago. I think I finished last fall. And I used two colors I held together, New Moon in like the mohair base from Madeline Tosh. Really pretty variegated color. Has like blues and mauves and a little bit of like teal and stuff too. So really pretty color. And I held it over Knit Picks palette in some nice mauve color. I can't remember the name of it, but it is so cozy. It is very loose. I bought this pattern before I realized that Petite Knit was not as size inclusive, so I don't necessarily endorse this pattern, but it is a cozy, simple sweater, and it was really special for me to use this mohair, and I feel like the match between the mohair and the solid color that I used is like the background was perfect, and it's just perfect for fall. So I'm wearing it today. It's a little wrinkly because it's been rolled up since I last wore it way at the beginning of this year. So I'm wearing that. I'm also wearing a pair of DK Weight vanilla socks. I have Vista Dyeworks. Ooh, what color is it? Gradient Gourds that I held double to make this cool like marled effect. And maybe I'll show you a picture. Do I have a picture? I should have a picture so I don't have to like stick my foot up in the air. I'll grab a picture and pop it up so that you can see what the socks look like. So that is what I'm wearing. It's a double knit kind of a day. And I've got tea in front of me in my scared cat mug because Halloween season is upon us. It's actually really hot. I put the hot water directly in here, so I'm kind of nervous about drinking it. It's like a vanilla chai rooibos tea. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not really a tea drinker, but I have a couple packets on hand of some herbal tea, and I've been slowly working my way through it. I had hot chocolate yesterday to warm up, so now I'm doing tea today, and it smells so good and cozy, so I'm really hoping I can get to it, but I'm also kind of nervous. I hope I like the taste, and I hope it's not too hot to burn my mouth. But I've got a bunch of fun things to share with you. I do have a few finished objects that I'm really excited to be off my plate and done, so I can be moving on to some other projects that I have since started. I'm trying to think. I think all the whips that I have are all new compared to last podcast, which is really, really fun. So this is like what I finished in September. My newest finished object, and I'm going to show this to you because it was just on top of the pile. I finished my Sunday morning socks. I tested this pattern for Carly Perrins of Northwood Knits, and this is part of a collection that she recently came out with, and she's had lots of issues with Ravelry. They like merged this pattern collection with another pattern of hers without her knowledge, and so she's trying to get customer support and like getting them separated because they are two distinct patterns. She's having issues with that. So I don't know if this pattern is available on Ravelry, but it is available on Etsy, so I will link it. But it's this trio of patterns. There's like a Friday night, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday morning. And this is the Sunday morning sock. And it's got this really beautiful texture with these slip stitches. So it took a little bit longer to work up than maybe a vanilla sock would, just because of all the slip stitches that would kind of shrink the height of the sock, if that makes sense. But I love this yarn. This is Coast to Coast Yarn Co. in the color Unexpected Friendship and Loyal Companion. So it's kind of a lower contrast, but I really, really wanted this lighter color for my socks. Carly has another pattern of the Sunday morning socks that's a DK version where you hold it with mohair, and it uses this same slip stitch pattern. So I mentioned it in my fall favorites sock pattern roundup, so you can check it out there. I'll make sure to link the video up above and down below. But she used the same slip stitch pattern in a fingering weight to work it up. And I looked through the DK weight pattern just to see kind of what other people had done for their colors and what I liked. And I really wanted a lighter color based on what I saw, because I thought that the stitch pattern would show up more with a lighter color, and if I didn't have so much variegation or like a ton of speckles. So I feel like this skein fit the bill perfectly, and it's the perfect cozy sock. They are slightly damp still. I walked them last night. So I'm going to be hanging these up so they get some good airflow. Yeah, I always highly recommend Carly's patterns. I really love testing for her, and I love that each of her patterns comes in a collection, so you can get a handful of patterns for a really good price. So hopefully things will get ironed out with Ravelry for her, because I know that's really frustrating because there's nothing that she did on her part, but it's available on Etsy. So that is a really great option if you are wanting to purchase that pattern. Another pattern I tested recently, and I can't remember. I think I had the beginning started. I really should start marking my progress with podcasts by keeping progress keepers, since I have plenty in my little bin right there. But this is the Feathertail Socks by Hookah Canyon, Kim Jackson, I think her last name is. And she's actually local to Utah, which is fun. Maybe I'll run into her one of these days. But it's got this beautiful texture on the front of the sock. It's got cables and some pretty lace. And I love this yarn. This is made by Haley Bailey in the color Leptopoma, which is inspired by a cute little snail. And she did a great job matching these colors. And it looks beautiful. It's like a minty green yarn with some rosy pink and some golden yellow speckles and slight variegation to it. It's really, really beautiful how it worked up. I'm really, really excited about this pair. I had to get both socks done for the pattern test, and so this was kind of a priority project, and so got them done, got them finished. I'm really happy. Also, there's a garter stitch heel flap, which I've never done before. I've done a garter stitch short row heel. I didn't really like it. It was very, very stretchy compared to the rest of the sock, and therefore it was a little bit loose because it was just garter stitch short rows. But this used slip stitches, so it's still really, really sturdy. It's not overly stretchy, but still has plenty of stretch for fitting over your heel. The slip stitches really helped it to add some bulk and some sturdiness to the heel, so I think it's a perfect heel, and it was really fun to try a new technique with that. So yeah, that's my pair of socks. They are beautiful. If you've read Fourth Wing, then you know all about feathertails. Basically, there is a cute little puppy dragon almost in Fourth Wing whose name is Andarna, and she is a feathertail dragon. And so here's Fourth Wing. I got the stenciled edges because I bought it early enough, yay. But I picked out this yarn because I thought it felt very Andarna to me. And also it's got the gold in the sock to tie in to the cover of the book. So I thought it was a perfect match. I had lots of fun pastel-y light skeins to choose from, and I'm really happy. This one really stood out to me, and I'm glad that I chose it. Yay, it makes me so happy. So now that I have shown you, I can start wearing these socks because I don't need them to look nice for the podcast. And so I'm excited. And the next book is coming out in only a month. I'm so excited. I pre-ordered it, and we'll see how long it takes for me to get through it. I'll probably inhale it and then be very sad when I have to wait for the next book. The very last finished object I have to share with you is my Desert Vista Dyeworks socks for the month of September. And I did DK weight socks because I was ready to just have a quick knit experience. And this color is called Blue-Footed Booby, and it honestly matches the bird perfectly. Just these colors are really stark. I have one issue that I caused with this. It's just a simple vanilla sock. I did do an Eye of Partridge heel because I haven't done one in a while, And so that basically just means I alternate where the slip stitches are so they're not stacked on top of each other. Kind of a fun little like subtle texture there. It was almost a perfect fit with 2 colors on the heel flap, 1 color on the heel turn, and then I could start the next color in this stripe for the gusset, but it wasn't perfect because the next stripe would have been brown, and so it would have made this brown twice as long, and I did not like that. So I ripped it back, and for some reason I decided to do blue so it would like pull over from the heel turn when really I should have just done gray, which is the next color in sequence along the front of the sock. I don't know what I was thinking, but by the time I realized that that was not like the best option I could have done, it was too late and I didn't want to undo it. So here we go. And especially with a skein of DK yarn, I feel like there's a little bit more yarn chicken in making sure you have the stripes that you need. So I didn't want to like take out more yarn to get to the next gray stripe and like undo what I was doing. Because what if I was like a stripe or 2 short? I don't know. I just didn't want to bother. So instead I have this weird like blue, brown striping thing before I hit the gray when I really should have just had this as gray. What can you do? But they're done. They are cozy. It was a nice quick knit. And I needed that. I've been doing a lot of these socks. I have kept up with every month. I'm just a little tired. I think I might try to do a hat next month. This month. I might do a hat this month, like a muscle burrow. But also I remember last time it was a lot of knitting. It is October 3rd right now, so I do have time. Maybe I should do that just to do something different. I need to do something different because I've been doing lots of socks. I need a break from socks, I think. Even though it is Socktober, I just have had so many socks going on. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't quite decided, but I need to decide soon because if I'm gonna start a hat, I need to start it and work on it a lot over the next little bit so that I'm not cramming the last like 10 inches in the last couple days of October. And we have some traveling later on this month, so a muscle burr hat would be perfect for traveling, so I might do that. I just might do that. Not too hot. It's good. It's definitely more subtle flavor than it smells, but that's been the case with every tea I've had. But it's good. I like it. I can see myself drinking this again. Nice and cozy. I did take my glasses off because it was fogging up my glasses. All right, are you ready for some works in progress? I've got a couple to share with you, and all of them are new compared to last time I saw you for a podcast. I am trying to get back on like a monthly-ish schedule so I can talk about what I knit in September, what I read in September, and it can just be a little bit better organized. I like that feel better for me. So that's what I'm trying to do because I was kind of getting behind on my podcast and both filming and in editing it. So I'm trying to be more on top of things there. Let me share what I've been working on. I finally started my Harlow hat that I've been talking about for a long time. It is on my list of 23 projects in 2023, which I am very behind on. I don't think I will make it. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. And I guess it's been making me think more about what I want to do as far as goals in my making, especially as life's gotten really busy with me working full time. That wasn't true at the very beginning of the year. And just me trying to diversify my interests to listen to what I need rather than just knitting constantly. And so I've been doing a lot more reading and things and spending time with family. That's the way it is. So I don't know if I'm going to be making a big goal next year. Maybe I'll do make 9 because 9 items is a lot more reasonable than 23 items. And I definitely was very intentional in planning my 23 things to make in 2023, but life has changed since I set those goals. But this item was on that list and I still wanted to make it. So here we are. I'm in the middle of a row, so I'm a little bit tangled up. But here is my Harlow. In person, you can see the contrast a little bit better in the right lighting. See, there you go. And here's the inside, which you can see so well. I chose to make the lighter color the contrast color or the inside color because I liked how the decreases looked from the inside, and I thought that that would look really nice in the lighter color, whereas on the outside, the decreases are less prominent looking, and I thought I would like it better this way. So really simple brioche hat. This is the Harlow by Andrea Mowry. And this is the fingering weight version. There is a Harlow worsted version as well. And honestly, it's been really fun. It's a really nice rhythm. I haven't done brioche in a long time. So it's been nice to work on some brioche. And this is a super easy pattern, very mindless. And I'm getting better at fixing my mistakes in brioche, which is really nice. When I started this hat, I was comfortable in picking up my like little shawl or my little yarn over if it dropped or if I like forgot to add it in or something. Fairly comfortable with fixing those kinds of issues, but I've done more fixing on this hat. And so I'm more comfortable even than that in fixing my knitting. Nothing super crazy, but with this straight brioche knits and purls, I can fix things, which feels really good that I'm definitely making progress in that sense. Let me find my issue. Yeah, okay, you can see at the very beginning, right there, it was like one of the first stitches of the round, but I realized there was like a stitch right here where something happened, and I still don't even really know how it happened. It wasn't like I purled a knit or knit a purl, and it wasn't like I just didn't include a yarn over for like one round. It was something different that like got mixed up maybe. I don't really know, but I had to fix it. So I had to drop down. I was only a couple rows beyond. So maybe it was like here. I dropped down a couple rows to try to fix it. I followed Stephen West's tutorial. I'll link it down below because it was really good. And basically used a crochet hook to pick up my stitches, and also making sure to hook onto my like yarn over little shawls on my stitches and knowing which shawl went with which stitch. So it helped me understand the anatomy better, but I kept finding that like I had more and more issues. Like I'd fix it and it'd be like, wait, my yarn over shawls were like off by one. So I had a random shawl hanging out. And so I kept having to like drop back down and fix it again. I did that like 4 times, I swear. And I kept having to go like one round lower and lower until I was basically at the very bottom, and it was very stressful and I was worried it was all gonna fall out, but it didn't. And it doesn't look pretty right there, but it's correct. And it doesn't have like a random crossed lines that don't belong there. So that's as good as it's gonna get. And it worked. So I'm really happy that that worked out okay. Let me show you the yarn I'm working with. The main color, this is Coast to Coast Yarn Co. from the Mushroom Collection. These are both from the Mushroom Collection. This is the color Earthen, and this is the color Polypore. So super, super cute. Oh, there's my crochet hook to fix my brioche. I'm really excited about this. Glad I'm finally working on it. And it'll be super, super simple. Hi, Alfred. It'll be super simple. I need to knit in this smaller needle size for 3 inches, and then I'll switch to the larger needles and then knit for a while before I start decreasing. So just chugging along. I'm hoping to get through the 3 inches today so I can switch my needles and be able to move on without having to like keep measuring, like keeping watch to make sure I don't go too far. So that is the plan. It is working its way up. We'll see when I finish that. It's definitely not a priority project, but it's been a nice rhythm to be working on that sometimes. Okay, this next whip is like not really a whip, I guess, but I did swatch and now my needles are occupied in the last project I'm going to share with you, but I will show you what I've got. I'm going to make the Maven top by Maven Handcrafted. Rachel Raimo, I think her name is. And it's just got this fun pearl texture. The yarn I'm using is called Wednesday in a Cafe by Teeny Button. And I've had this on deck for a long time to make some kind of short sleeve top. I've got 2 skeins of it. So now I finally decided I'm going to make the Maven top. And I love this color. So pretty. Perfect for fall. I think it's different enough for my skin tone. Will probably be okay. But I swatched for this. I was so excited. I let it dry, and then I found out I was selected for a test knit that needed the same exact needles. So this is on hold for a hot minute, though my project that is on the same needles is going to be finished in just like a week and a half. Not even that, I think. And so I can get started on this. I'll definitely need to be alternating skeins because you can see with the nature of hand-dyed yarn, they just turn out a little different. This one's definitely lighter. This one's definitely more yellow. So I'll need to remember to do that, but I'm really excited. It should be fun to have a top. I don't know when I'll finish it. Part of me thinks it'll work up fairly fast, but it is fingering weight yarn. Though it is kind of a looser gauge, we will find out, I guess. Hopefully I finish it this fall though, and won't go too long. All right, the last work in progress I have to share with you is a test knit that I mentioned. This is for Jamie Lomax, and this is the Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. I'm so excited. I haven't tested for Jamie in a little while, and I do really enjoy her doodle pattern, so it was really an honor to be selected. And since I'm going to Rhinebeck this year, I thought it would be really fun to be able to make this and to bring it with me as like a Rhinebeck make that I can show off while I'm there. And so here is what it looks like so far. I have a ways to go. I need to make it like 22 inches, I think. And I have maybe 7 inches. So I've got a good chunk done, but definitely lots more to go. I am making this my priority project. It's a pain in the butt to have more than one skein of yarn, but I might bring it to work. No, because I'm working day shift, so I'll be a lot busier during day shift. So I probably won't get to knit at work at all this next like week or so. But on the days I'm not working, I'm going to be sitting in front of the TV and knitting on this for a while. I've got this fun little like motif down here, some little sheepies, a hank of yarn, pumpkin, and then I'm gonna do leaves up here. So that is my Rhinebeck Doodle Cowl. I'm doing the Infinity Cowl, and the colors. This is Cascade 220, and I don't actually know what the colors are because it's just numbers on the tag. You have to look up online what the colors actually are. So I will show you the separate colors, and down below, I'll make sure to write down the actual color names if you're looking for them, but I don't know them off the top of my head because they're just random numbers. I have this pretty pale pink, this medium pink that's like a little bit heathered, this like dark cranberry red, and then I have like a light sagey green, and this darker green that's kind of like a medium tone. So I really didn't know what to do for this cowl as far as colors go. So what I did was I picked 2 colors. I really liked how they went together at my local yarn store. I went to Harmony where they have a lot of Cascade 220. And I picked 2 colors I really liked, the light pink and the light green. And then I built my palette off of those 2 colors, trying to find gaps in saturation so that I'd have a whole spectrum from like light to dark to help with color work. So that is how I picked this grouping. It was a little tricky. It's not my forte, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. This is definitely not the color palette of fall, and it's definitely not like the color palette of Rhinebeck, but it's a color palette I really like, so I figured it would be fun to knit. So we'll see how it works out, but it'll just be like fun, colorful greens and pinks to look at. So I'm really happy with how that's turning out. It's taking me longer than I thought. Last time I knit color work, it felt like each round was really fast. For some reason, this one is feeling like it's taking longer. And I think it's just, there's more tooth to this yarn than the last time I did color work. And so it's catching a little bit more on my hands and on itself. So I think it's just slowing the process down a little bit, but I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Yay, I'm so excited. That's my priority project for sure. I have a lot of work to do on that. And my test is going to finish up fairly soon here, so we are going to work a lot on that soon. I've just got a couple of Yarnie goodies to share with you today. First off, ooh, I should pull that out. Hold, please. My ball winder went kaput, and it's been kind of going kaput for a while. I've had it for years now. I found lots of skeins on it. My husband, the engineer, has tried to fix it and kind of clear things out and like re-lubricate it and all the things, but he did say some of the inner parts were starting to be worn down. The gears were being worn down. So I knew it was only a matter of time. And then I couldn't get an actual skein wound anymore, so I had to fix it. I wound a few skeins by hand and it was horrible. So I just went to one of my local yarn stores and bought a winder, a nicer one, so that I could have some nice skeins of yarn, and it has been working well for me. This is a Knitter's Pride one, just like in their natural color. I know they have like a fun multicolored one, but it's so fun. I like turn this and then this turns. So it actually still clamps to my table like my last one, but all the pieces are definitely higher quality, and so I'm really excited about this. I wonder how long it'll last. Probably many more years than the cheap plastic one that I had. And it makes me happy. I did not buy like the nicest thing I could get. I really just wanted something convenient that I didn't have to pay shipping on and to support my local yarn store. So this is what I found. I think it's a happy medium. Maybe one day I'll upgrade to like a Stanwood or something really nice. But for now, I think this is going to do the trick and it's going to really help me a lot. So really excited that I have this. I do have my Swift still. That's still working just fine, but I really needed a new ball binder. So I purchased this. And then as far as some fun Yarnie goodies, I got just a couple packages in the mail. And this first one is from Sorelli Yarn. And they did a Taylor Swift collection. They're like revisiting all their old collections instead of doing like one greatest hits collection, so you can like reorder from previous collections. So Taylor Swift collection, and they've also like remastered some of the colors. That's not like the right word, but they've kind of updated some of the colors and also added more colors, expanded things. This is the Enchanted sock set. I love, love, love this pinky, purpley, beigey pastel. This sock set is called Karma, which is just like a really fun skein to see it worked up, and so that's why I purchased it. And I really love this mini. I think this is like, should have said no, maybe? I don't know, but it's got a little bit of teal to tie it in. So I thought that was a really good match too. And then 1989, I love this colorway. It's super, super fun. And I really like how Sorelli Yarn is a really big operation, honestly. And they're really, really well organized. They have swatches in multiple crafts so you can see how things work up. I don't think I would have purchased this skein necessarily if I saw it at the store, but seeing it worked up, I knew that I really liked the layout of the colors, and so I purchased it. Whereas other colors I thought might look nice, but when I see how they're worked up, I really didn't like the color blocking of it. So it's a really helpful tool. It's not like an end-all and be-all tool, but I do appreciate that they do that because it teaches me more about that yarn and that dye style than what I can see in the hank itself. And of course, your needle size, the yarn weight you use, the gauge that you knit at, whether you're knitting in the round or flat, those all affect how that color will look. But at least it gives you a little bit more information, I feel like. So I always appreciate it when they do that. No plans for those, probably socks one day eventually, as happens with most of my single skeins of yarn. I did buy this sock set. It's a DK8 tweed, maple tweed DK from Northwoods Fibers, and I've purchased from them in the past, but not in a long time. I have a pair of vintage Thanksgiving socks that are the same base, and this is the vintage Halloween color, so that's super fun. I thought it might be fun to get to these socks this month. We'll see. I feel like I have got too much on my plate. Who knows? But those would be fun. And they're DK, so they'll work out really fast. Should I do another like try to knit a pair of socks in a day video? Because that was really fun. And if I think about it ahead of time, I can plan better and make sure I don't have all sorts of other things going on that day. So I can really just sit and knit all day and try to knock it out. We'll see. Let me know if you want to see a vlog of me trying to knit a pair of socks in the day, because that was really fun to work on. And I kind of want to redeem myself. And then one other package I got, this is from Desert Vista Dyeworks, and I participated for the first 6 months of the year in their monthly sock club thing where I knit up one skein of their yarn for a pair of socks or a hat or something of the like every single month. And as a result, I was gifted a skein of yarn, and I picked a Christmas skein. This is Holiday Stripes Thin, in the DK weight because, again, I wanted a thick sock. I think I'll probably save this for December to work on because I'll have other sorts of things with gifts and whatnot. But I really want to cast this on like right now. I think just with the colder weather, I'm like getting really excited for Christmas. It's one of my favorite holidays. But this will be my Christmassy socks for Desert Vista Dyeworks this year. I just have a couple more months before I can get to this beautiful skein that is just screaming Christmas to me. Awesome, we are making great time, and now it is time for me to talk about life and books mostly because I don't have much of a life. Let's see, what have we been doing recently? We had a church like worldwide conference that we listened to this past weekend, and I was working a couple nights that weekend, so I listened to part of it. I need to get back to the rest and listen to the rest of it, but that was really good. It's kind of hard with a toddler in the house to be able to listen to like church things on the TV for a long period of time, but it went pretty well. Other than that, my mind is totally blank. We haven't done much. We did like a little staycation. We were thinking about going to Kansas City, but that didn't end up working out. It felt better to just stay home and just enjoy ourselves. My husband and I went axe throwing on a little date. So my in-laws watched our daughter, and I ended up really liking this thing called a cross. So it's like a ninja star, but it's shaped like a cross. So it has 4 points, and 1 point is a lot longer, and that's the handle. So cross shaped. And you throw it more similarly to, I did softball growing up and in high school. And so it was a lot easier for me to aim well with that than to aim well with the axe because it was just such a different throwing motion. So it ended up being really fun, and we went out to eat, and it was really nice to pick our own spot and not having to do what our toddler wanted to eat. Because when she wants mac and cheese, there's not that many places that have mac and cheese, actually. And so that limits what we can go eat. But that was really fun to do that date night and to just have a little bit more time at home with each other, taking some mental health days. It was really nice. And I can't think of anything else that we did. The weather has been cooling down. The mountains look so beautiful, and I just can't capture it on my phone. They're starting to be really, really colorful. And this morning, even like they were snow tipped with like a little bit of cloud cover on them. They were so beautiful. We are hoping to go do a drive up the canyon in a few days on a day when I'm not working so that we can enjoy the colors in the canyon. I'm so excited. I hear this year is going to be a really good one because we've had tons of moisture and we've had a lot of nights, especially in like September, where the evenings have been cooler, but during the day it's been nice and warm, like 70s and 80s. And so I've heard that that also helps with making the colors more vibrant. So I'm really excited. They should be at their prime this next week or so. So I really hope we can make it out as a family, give my daughter some Dramamine so she doesn't get sick in the car, hopefully, and go for a really fun drive. Maybe do like a little hike or something up the canyon. So that's really exciting. We're looking forward to that. And we are going to Rhinebeck this October. We don't have plans finalized just because I'm excited to be there and I don't think I can possibly do everything. So I'm just gonna try to do what I can and enjoy it. I'm gonna vlog it for sure. So if there's anything in particular you want to see from local yarn shops in the area, from Rhinebeck itself, or from the auxiliary festivals that go on that weekend, let me know. I can try to include it in my vlog so you can follow along and see what it's like. I'm really excited. I'm gonna go with my mom, who also, she does a lot of crocheting, and so it'll be really fun just to share that experience with her and hopefully get to see some really cool things that I can share with you too in my vlog. But other than that, all I've been doing is working and reading. So let's start off with some books I've been reading. Last podcast, I had mentioned Divine Rivals. I was working my way through it. I did the audiobook, but I loved it so much. I bought the physical copy. 5 out of 5 stars. Like escapism in its prime. I forgot I was reading a book. I was sucked in. The rest of the world disappeared around me. The last like hour of listening to the book, I was so tense. I was so invested. I could not put it down. I loved it. It's interesting in that it's set in like a pseudo World War I era, but the world has some magic seeped into it. It has a low fantasy feel, but it's high fantasy. There's gods involved, like a pantheon of gods, and there is magic, and the country is different. So technically it's a high fantasy, but it definitely feels like a low fantasy. It feels very much like a World War I, but with like elements of magic sprinkled in here and there. Magic typewriters. It's an epistolary novel. They fall in love. It's a young adult, but definitely an older young adult. It's just like, it's beautiful. And seeing these characters fall in love through letters and then later on together, it's just beautiful. I love it. And the ending like wrecked me. And I cannot wait for the second book. It's coming out in December, I think December 26th. Hoping my local bookstore will open even just for a few hours so I can pick up my book and read it the rest of that break. That's the plan, but I loved it. The writing style was just very poetic, very sensory. I felt like I was right there and the rest of the world disappeared around me and I was totally immersed in the story, which was a really, really amazing experience. I really needed that. The next book I finished was a physical book. I read Tress of the Emerald Sea, and I read this for my friend's book club. Also 5-star, also loved it. It has been likened to The Princess Bride, and I would say that it has a very similar sense of writing. Like the narrator seems very similar. It's very silly and funny and witty. I really, really liked it. This is by Sanderson. This is his first of his secret projects. The third one just came out recently. So I have the second and the third secret project book in my TBR to read eventually. I really liked this one. It was very different, about a young girl trying to find her love that has been taken away, basically. And it's super high fantasy, very different world, but also very approachable and easy to read. And I really enjoyed it. It was very lighthearted, but also kind of an epic novel as she's going on this big quest to find her true love. The next book that I read was an audiobook, Back in a Spell by Lana Harper. And this book is the third book in the Witches of Thorn Grove series. And I really, really loved the first book. The second book didn't hit for me. The third book also was maybe my least favorite. I know I had mentioned last podcast that I had started to hear a little bit that the non-binary rep was not hitting the mark in this book. I am not part of that population. I'm not non-binary, and so I can't say for certain, though it felt very real to me in terms of the people that I know in my life that are non-binary. The point of the book wasn't like going into deep discussion about like non-binary issues and like struggles that they face or representation or anything like that. So I didn't necessarily have a problem with it, but also I'm not that population. I could be missing something. If you identify as such and want to weigh in, I would love to hear your opinion about the book. But that wasn't necessarily my problem because it felt very realistic to what I have known in the people that I have known, which is also very limited, right? But my issue was it just felt like the story itself was so fantastical and not really tied to the lore in the other books at all. So it felt like it just went off the deep end, kind of. I really hated the two love interests together. They were polar opposites. They hated each other's guts, and then all of a sudden they were sleeping together. And it just like didn't make sense to me, like how they overcame. They like went on one, like the back of the cover says like an awkward date, but it wasn't awkward. They both hated each other and they were both really rude to each other. And then all of a sudden the next time they meet, they're like just fine and dandy. Well, they were still angry at each other, but like then they ended up like coupling off. And it just like didn't feel right. It was a little weird. So I don't know. I'm definitely going to read the fourth book. I hope it's better. I hope I like it more, but not buying it. I'm going to do the audiobook. I'm waiting for my turn. It was just like kind of weird. It didn't feel like a well-written story. Like maybe they wrote it too fast or they felt like they had to like up the ante more. If you liked it, let me know, but like it was just mediocre for me. So we'll see how the fourth book does. Hopefully it's not just like a downward trend. We shall see though. The next book I read was another physical book. I read lots of physical books this month, and this one, holy crap, was 600 pages. It was The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King by Carissa Broadbent, and I borrowed this book from a friend. I'd read the first book that I borrowed from her as well, and I sat down and I was going to finish this book because it was so long. It was so daunting. The way the first one ended, I was like scared to start the second book. And for the first like 200 pages, it was just grumpy. And understandably so. But there was nothing really compelling me to keep reading. And then after that, the story picked up a lot. There was a lot going on. I really wanted to see what was happening next. The ending tied up a little bit too well. And I also am not sure how this is only a duology because it feels like there's more of the story that's going to be told. But the sexual tension, so good. The spice, so good. There was lots of political intrigue, lots of like spying and like trying to get people on your side and like throwing together armies with a motley crew of people. So it was like really interesting. There was lots going on. Very high fantasy. I just don't think I'm a vampire person because there was not like, I couldn't really say anything was wrong with it, but it didn't captivate me. It wasn't as interesting to me as I feel like other people have loved that duology. There's nothing wrong with Carissa Broadbent's writing. I feel like it was good. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. And I was just really glad to be done reading it. So there's a novella that's only like 150, 160 pages, I think. So I'm going to try to read that because I think it'll be fun, something to add into that little world. But I don't know if I'm going to read more by her. Probably not my first choice, but I don't think I would mind reading something by her again. Solid, like a 4-star. Lots of good things going for it, but not like the perfect fit for me and what I was looking for. The next physical book I read, I needed something light. This is Shady Hollow by Juneau Black, which is the like pen name of 2 authors. And they wrote this. This is a cozy mystery involving woodland critters. Like literally there's a fox that is solving the mystery in her little woodland town. A+ for cozy vibes. I loved that it was like this little woodland town, but it also felt like most of the book, nothing happened for the mystery. They didn't get any clues. They didn't get any leads. They just sat around being like, I don't know what's going on. It wasn't very satisfying in that way because they weren't getting anywhere nearer. It also felt like they weren't trying that hard. Like nothing was happening in trying to figure out the mystery. It's nice when you get to the end and you're like, I still have no idea how this is all gonna happen, and then it all comes together, but they weren't even getting that many clues. It was just like very light on the evidence, I guess, and on the clues. And then it also felt like in some ways the authors were trying too hard in writing the narrative, so it felt really forced in some spots in the way that the characters interacted with one another and they talked. Like they were trying too hard to be like a cozy mystery. And so it was a little bit awkward of a read, I feel like. Not bad. Had good vibes. I think I will read another one. Not sure if I'll buy the book. I'll probably just listen to it on audiobook and see if I feel the same or if maybe I like it better on audiobook. We shall see. But beautiful cover art. It's got that nice like matte cover. Really fun concept, but I feel like it was too much of a simplistic cozy mystery for me rather than like a clever cozy mystery, which is what I prefer. The next book I finished was one I listened to. This is called Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. And this is the second book in a series, and it finished things off in a nice way. It didn't leave any big cliffhangers, which I really liked. But there's this daughter of the Pirate King, and you find out some things about her in the first book. She's now on another quest, and everything she knows is flipped on its head. I'm trying really hard not to give spoilers for the first book because I do recommend it. It's a young adult pirate fantasy. She's like 17, I think, and Raiden from the first book joins her crew, but also there's a lot of like miscommunication and like sexual tension that's like not resolved. So that was like something that was a little frustrating, like the miscommunication where she's trying to tell herself that she doesn't feel anything for the love interest, and he's trying to tell her like, I care about you, that's why I'm here. And she's like, no, you don't really. I don't know. There was some like miscommunication, and you can definitely tell it's YA because there's some dumb things that both of them do, but mostly it's her. But I really liked this story. It had a lot more action. I had no idea where it was going. There was a lot more like chaos to the storyline of like betrayals and sticky situations and things like that. There was more gore in this one, surprisingly, and it was really interesting. It was a really fun read. I like this one better than the first one in that there was more going for it, though the love interest part of it was a little bit more annoying. But it all worked out, and things tied up a little, maybe a little too nicely, but it's a YA. It was really fun. There is a third one. I don't know if it's out yet or if it's just coming really soon, but it actually follows 2 different characters on that boat. I don't get like the resolution that I want for the 2 main love interests, though like they were headed in the right direction by the time we left off at the end of this book. And I think they'll be mentioned in the 3rd book, but the 3rd book will focus more on 2 different characters, which will be interesting to see. So I think I will listen to that one as well. I also started reading some graphic novels this month, and that's partially why my book count was so high. I just needed some quick, easy reads that were thematic for this time of year. I read Sheets by Brenna Thummler, and this is part of a little series of graphic novels. And basically, someone passed away, their ghost, but ghosts wear sheets so that they can actually be seen as a ghost rather than just invisible. So they're ghost wearing a sheet in the ghost world. And then there's a person, a young girl who's working at a laundromat trying to help further her family's business, but they're really stuck financially. Her father's in kind of like a depressive episode. Her mother passed away recently, so they're just kind of struggling. And so you follow both timelines of this ghost and the girl, and their paths collide when the ghost decides to come to the real world, and he's in their laundromat. So it's funny, it's a little quirky. Some of the parts of the story are a little like outrageous, but it's cute. The color palette and the artistry is really beautiful, so it was a really fun experience to look at, and I really enjoyed it. Solid, like I think like a 3.5 star, 3.75, nothing wrong. Just not like a lot that was amazing, incredible. It just was a good story and nice, easy read, nice viewing experience. I'm looking forward to reading another one in the series. It was cute, but not a lot of depth to it, despite having some deeper topics like death and depression in it. Not as much depth as I think I was hoping for. The next book I finished was Well Played by DeLuca. This is the 2nd book in the series. Well Met was the first one. And in this town, they have this little small Renaissance festival that they run, and it's just part of the town culture now for the summers. This is taking place like a year after the first one. Yes, because characters in the last one end up getting married in this book. So it starts like right after they get engaged, basically. And she ends up, when she's drunk, this is Stacy. Yes, Stacy ends up when she's drunk reaching out to the fling that she had, one of the traveling people that goes through the Renaissance Festival every year, reaches out to them. They start communicating back and forth. So maybe like a third to a half of the book is like just communicating throughout the year. So kind of a slow start, but kind of interesting. I've never read a book like that before, as the romance is kind of blossoming online. And then comes the Renaissance Fair, and she finds out that the person she was talking to was not who she thought it was. And so they're kind of rekindling their relationship and getting better understanding of each other. I liked this book. I thought it was interesting. I liked the 2 main love interests more than in the last book, but there were some issues with like communication that felt really immature. Not as immature as the last one. So I think overall I like this one better, but there was definitely still some miscommunication things and some ways in which I like wish things could have gone differently for them. And I could definitely get behind this couple, but like also Stacy just like was kind of blah for me, like just the way that she lived her life, and she just was very like resigned to mediocrity. Life didn't go the way that she had planned, and so she just was stuck. But she wouldn't do anything to get unstuck. So she like was basically living at home, not even telling her parents that she was unsatisfied with the living arrangements, even though she's like 27. So I don't know. She just was very like learned helplessness, I guess. So I liked it. It was fun. Not my favorite characters, but it was a good time. I'll read the next one. I don't know if they all take place at the Ren Fair or just within these people. I'm really excited for the 3rd book because it has 2 characters that I really adore. So we'll see how that goes. If it doesn't take place during the summer, I think I may start it sooner than later. But I'll tell you, I have a plan for October to read only spooky Halloween-y type vibes. And so I don't think I'll get to it soon, but maybe the month after I'll get to the next book. After that book, I finished a lot of books on audio. I read 2 books by K.L. Walther, The Summer of Broken Rules and What Happens After Midnight. And these are both YA. They involve like seniors / just graduated from high school. So like 18-year-olds. But it felt way younger than that. It's like how Teen Vogue is really for 12-year-olds. It's not for 18-year-olds kind of thing. Very young adult books. The Summer of Broken Rules, definitely love that one more. Solid 4-star. I really liked how they set up the setting at Martha's Vineyard, and there was also some grief discussed with death in the family and just trying to live on beyond that grief and beyond the absence of that person. And so I really, really liked those discussions and how it kind of started delving into that without being super, super heavy. But I definitely felt the heaviness was there in a little bit. So I really liked that. The love interest was so sweet. And I really liked the main character too. And they had this backdrop of like a camp-wide game they were playing of assassination where I don't know what version you've played, but I played this in my college apartment, like my apartment building, where we had spoons. And we would be given a name in secret. And our goal was to touch that person with a spoon. And then we would get their name. And then we'd have a new target. So you'd keep like knocking people out with your spoon, not like throwing it, but like just touching them with your spoon until there was only one person left. And I got pretty far. I was like one of the last like 10 people left until it got me. But I did pretty good. And I remember that was a really fun experience. And so having played a version of that game before, watching them play with like their extended family on both sides, this wedding party, there was tons of people there, and just seeing them compete in this way was really fun and something that I hadn't read in a book before. So that was just like a fun experience until the very end when there was just some miscommunication between the main characters, and they're like, is this a fling that's only going to be for this week, or is this going to last forever? And instead of just like talking about it, they just make assumptions, and then there's miscommunication, and then when they decide what to do, it's not actually what they want to do, it's just what they feel safe doing. And so then, and that was like the third act conflict. So then it all works out in the end, of course it does, but not a perfect book, definitely very YA, but it was a really fun read. What Happens After Midnight, however, had a lot less going for it. And this one was the newer book that just came out. And it's set at a boarding school, like a high school level boarding school. This girl who lives just off campus with her mom, who's a professor. It's like a second chance romance. The guy that she had dated for a long, long time. You find out how they broke up. And they end up getting back together through this experience where they pull a senior prank. And what really bugged me, it just felt weird that these high school students were talking so much about sex. It didn't feel like it made a lot of sense. I don't know. Like, people don't hook up that much in high school, do they? I don't know. It just felt a little weird. Like they were trying too hard to be older when they were really just like 18. I like the setting of the prep school, but the way that the book was written, as they were traveling all over after midnight to try to deliver clues and like pull this prank off, it made the school sound like it was like ginormous when it's really just a high school. And it was a boarding high school and they had multiple buildings on campus, but I'm sure it was not that big. Like, I was just thinking of my college campus that had 30,000 students, and I could have gotten way more stuff done in the amount of time in traveling between buildings and whatnot of delivering these like items. I don't know. It just felt like not realistic in that sense. Like, wow, why is it taking them so long to get things done? Also, instead of splitting up and everyone delivering 1 or 2 clues, they all travel in a pack. So of course they get caught eventually, or at least some people get caught. You know, there's just all sorts of shenanigans, which was kind of fun to read, but also like I just kept banging my head against the wall. Like, why didn't you do this some smarter way? Or do the thing you have to do in the middle of the night and then do the rest of it during the day when no one is suspicious of you. I don't know, it was just kind of frustrating in that way. And same thing, lots of miscommunication that felt really immature and just not addressing like the issues. And like the miscommunication that was immature was like the reason they broke up in the first place. And she like blamed him for it. And he's like, what did I do wrong? Tell me what I did wrong. And she's like, well, if he doesn't know, then he's the problem. No, he doesn't know because he's oblivious, because he's Guy, because he was like 17, okay? So that one angered me more. I guess it was a fun time, but lots of things annoyed me in that book too. The next book that I listened to, just for a change of pace, this was Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And this one's a little bit of an older book, like 2014, I think. So not super, super old, but definitely not one of the like more recent books that have come out. This is horror. It was weird. There's an Area X where some kind of something happened. They don't know why it happened or exactly what happened, but this area on the coast has been like blocked off by a barrier, and they're sending in teams to go on like expeditions to try to do research and figure out what's going on. And all sorts of weird stuff happen with like people dying, people going crazy, people like maybe transforming into animals, who even knows, people coming back like ghosts of their past selves, weird stuff, and they don't really know what's going on. It's a weird book. It was intriguing. There are 0 answers. Well, maybe there's like a couple small answers, but there's like 0 answers. It's just weird. It wasn't as like horrific and haunting as I thought it would be, but it was intriguing. And it made me want to read the second book. So I did read the second book. It's called Authority. And this one is, the author has said it's like sending an expedition into the Southern Reach, who is the organization that puts together the expeditions to send to Area X. So it's like an expedition of the originators of the expeditions and just like going into that bureaucratic organization and learning more about like what problems they have there, what they've learned about, what secrets they're keeping from the expeditions. Again, not a lot of answers. I thought I would get some, and maybe I got a couple small answers. I think I will read the third book, because the third book is set in Area X again, where like the last final expedition, like when the world around them is falling apart to try to figure out. So I'm going to read the next book, and we'll see how that goes. They're on the shorter side. So the first book was 6 hours to listen to. The second and third book are both 10 hours-ish to listen to. I just wanted to read more horror, and I thought this would be some gentle horror to get into. And it definitely is. Not super gory or didn't give me like nightmares or anything, but it was weird. You don't know what's going on. Kind of more of like the sci-fi realm. Just weird stuff. Like, is it aliens? Is it magic? Is it like environmental? Like, who even knows? So kind of interesting, kind of weird, not phenomenal in any way, shape, or form, but I think I'll read the third book, or maybe I'll just read the Wikipedia page about the third book. Who knows? We'll see. Kind of interesting. I think the third book will give me more answers. Maybe not why Area X is the way that it is, but I think they'll tell me what is going on, which is kind of all I want to know at this point. The next book that I read, physical book, was Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is the second book in the Murderbot series, and I really, really enjoyed the first book. It's called All Systems Red, and this book, I also really enjoyed it. It was not as compelling of a story compared to the first book. There wasn't like a sense of impending doom coming that like, oh no, like how is this going to work out? How are we going to be saved? Etc., etc. But I still really liked it. Like a 4.75 star. Not as good as the first one, but I still really loved it. I'm excited to read more. I'm kind of spacing them out since they are novellas. They're pretty small, so that I can get enjoyment through a long period of time instead of just knocking through all the books at once. So I'll read the next book in like a month or so and let you know how I like that one. If you don't know about Murderbot, Murderbot is a construct. So basically a robot, but with some organic parts. And they are a security unit meant to protect clients. And in the first book, they break out of that role and they are now rogue. And they're trying to find their way in the world, trying to find some answers to questions about where their life was beforehand, and they end up getting roped into helping more humans. And it's funny because it's very relatable in how like they don't really like humans and they're very sarcastic and they just want to be like watching their downloaded videos instead of paying attention to the people around them, and like, yeah, just like the social anxiety, socially awkward kind of thing, which is really funny and relatable. So I've been really enjoying that. I am almost done. Wow, I've read so many books. I think I read 16 books in September, and I just finished a book this morning. So this next book is called Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell, and I love this book. This is another graphic novel, and it takes place in like a pumpkin patch that these two people have worked at like every fall the past 3 years, I think, and they're getting ready to like go off to college and like parting ways. You know how there's like, you know, you have your sports friends from your sports team, and you have maybe like your scouting friends, and you have like your theater friends, and sometimes your paths don't cross when like you're out of season. It kind of is like that. They're really good friends, these two people, but they also know that like their time is ending soon because it's the last day of their fair that they're working at, and they're gonna part ways soon, like because they're probably not coming back next year because they'll be in college. And so it's like their last hurrah of working at this like pumpkin patch and all the auxiliary things there, and they're just exploring it all, trying to take in every last bit. There's like a little love story. They're, you know, trying to track someone down. It's just really cute. I love the art style. It was so nostalgic and vibey with the fall, and it was the perfect fall read. So I highly recommend it. It was a really quick and had this really sweet story and some cute lines that just made my heart warm. I loved it. My tea's cold. The last book that I finished this morning. This is Richard Osman's new book, The Last Devil to Die. And this is book 4 in the Thursday Murder Club series, which I love. It's the perfect cozy mystery that is witty, it's clever, it's plucky, it's old people solving a mystery and going against the law. And it's just really fun. So I really liked it. This book was different than the others because it talked about some more deeper topics, like related to dementia and death. So it was more emotional of subplots, and it made it a really interesting read. The mystery itself was not nearly as who knows what happened kind of thing. Like, you could definitely predict it if you tried really hard. I wasn't trying hard, and so like I think the idea crossed my mind, and I was like, nah, I don't need to worry about that. And so by the end I was like, ooh, that's a fun surprise. I didn't necessarily see that coming a mile away, but I could see it coming like 100 yards off, you know? Some of his other mysteries were more removed, where like you really didn't know who done it. This one, not so much, but it was still a really enjoyable read, and it definitely focused a lot more on other things. And I think the emotional experiences of the people involved made it so that a harder mystery would not have been within their grasp, if that makes sense. You know, if you're having a hard time emotionally or mentally, like, you probably couldn't tackle that much. But they still had quite the mystery, and it was a bigger mystery, not who done it, but like why? Like what really was going on? And so that was interesting. There were many layers to the mystery. I always really like these books, and I was happy to read the newest one. I think he's going to write another book, and then he'll come back to this series, so it'll be a little while, but I'm sure going to read the next book because I've really enjoyed his work. I've already mentioned, but for the month of October, I'm going to be reading some scary, spooky, Halloween-y type books. I have a whole stack of books that I've kind of been saving up for this time of year, and so I'm going to be working my way through them. I've got like 6 books on my TBR that I'm definitely going to try to read. Coraline's the next one up after finishing this mystery, and I'm excited to read that because it's been a while since I read that. I've got a whole stack of others. I'll pop a picture up so you can see what books I really want to get through this month, and then I'm sure I'll get through a few extras. But I'm also going to try to make sure that my audiobooks are also in the realm of like mystery, horror, dark academia, Halloween, classics type of vibe. I am listening to Dracula by Bram Stoker, and I'm maybe like 25% of the way through. Definitely not going where I thought it would. I was like, wow, why is this happening so fast? Definitely written differently than I am used to, but it is interesting. And I'm glad that I'm knocking this off my list because I also want to listen to A Dowry of Blood, which is written from the perspective of Dracula's wives, and I've heard really good things about that. So a more modern like retelling of Dracula. I wanted to read the original before I read the retelling. Working my way through the Shadow and Bone trilogy, still on the second book, kind of like maybe a third of the way through, and I knocked all that out in like one like afternoon at work. I don't know, from like midnight until like 3 or 4, I knocked out a bunch, whatever that may be, during night shift, but I don't think it'll take too long when I sit down to read it. I don't know. I might wait until October's done just so I can really have all of the Halloween vibe books this month and kind of see how many I can knock out. Because I don't want anything super gross or scary, but I want something a little bit scary. So we'll see if I can find out if like horror is a good fit for me. I know I like mysteries. I've read some thrillers. I don't know. We'll see kind of what I find and if the books fit the vibe. Anyway, I should get going. I gotta reheat my tea, but thank you so much for joining me as I've just chatted about what I've been working on and what I've been reading. Let me know down below what things you are making right now, and if I'll see you at Rhinebeck this year. I would love to meet up with any of you guys, so reach out so that we can arrange a time and a place so that we can see each other. That would be so fun. Also, let me know if you've read any good books recently that you want to recommend to me, and I will see you next time. Happy making. Bye.